The Devil's Dairy. Unveiling the manipulative schemes and activities that can destroy personal greatness. Written and published by the Zillion Pro. Chapter 1. The Devil's Ink. How manipulation gets documented in daily life. There is a silent journal written each day, not with your hands, but with your habits. It's not kept on your nightstand but deep within your mind, your behaviors, and your patterns. This journal is what we call the Devil's Dairy, a spiritual and psychological ledger of compromises, excuses, temptations, and misalignments that collectively assassinate personal greatness. The ink that writes this daily diary is manipulation. Not the overt kind you easily recognize, but the subtle forms that sneak in as logic, comfort, business, pleasure, or even ambition. The devil's ink is not red and fiery, it's invisible, socially acceptable, and often applauded by the world around you. The nature of the ink, how manipulation works silently. Manipulation is not always external. Yes, there are manipulators, people, systems, and ideologies that seek to control you for their benefit. But the most dangerous manipulator lives inside your own head. It's the voice that justifies mediocrity, that tells you to wait until tomorrow, that convinces you that you're not ready yet, not good enough, or not worth the effort. This internal manipulation becomes a script that plays out automatically in daily life. I'll start next week, everyone else is doing it, just this one time, I deserve a break. Each of these lines is an entry written in the Devil's Dairy. Each one is a drop of ink on your potential. The subtle entries, small choices with big consequences. It starts with little things, skipping your morning routine, procrastinating on important work, tolerating toxic environments, compromising on values for temporary gain. These choices seem minor in isolation, but over time they accumulate into patterns. Patterns become identity. Identity becomes destiny. The devil doesn't need to destroy you with a bang, he just needs you to drift away from discipline, away from self-awareness, away from truth. A drifting ship doesn't realize it's lost until it hits the rocks. Daily inks, what are you writing with your life? Ask yourself, who or what dictates your daily decisions? Are your routines aligned with your highest calling or your deepest fears? What compromises have you normalized that silently erode your character? Every day, you're either writing the diary of destiny or the diary of destruction. There is no neutral ground. The ink you use is either purpose-driven or manipulation-fed. Social scripts as ink, manipulation from the outside. Let's not forget societal manipulation, advertising that tells you you're not enough unless you buy something, success stories that glorify hustle without peace, cultural narratives that pressure you into conformity. These are mass-produced ink bottles used to write a version of your life that serves others' profits, not your purpose. When you don't write your own story intentionally, someone else, some system, some brand, some ideology, will write it for you. Escaping the ink, becoming the author again. To break free from the devil's ink, you must reclaim authorship of your life. 1. Awareness. Start noticing the thoughts and patterns you obey automatically. Who gave them to you? 2. Audit your diary. Reflect on the last 7 days. What actions did you take that aligned with your greatness? What didn't? 3. Burn the old pages. Forgive yourself for past entries. Do not carry yesterday's failures into today's fresh. Page 4. Choose a new ink. Use discipline, truth, and vision as your new writing tools. These will author a narrative of excellence. Final reflection. Are you being written or writing? Manipulation thrives where there is no intentionality. The devil doesn't need to scream if he can whisper. He doesn't need to break you if he can just distract you. In a world filled with noise, deception, and seductive shortcuts, the ink flows fast. But the question remains, are you writing your life with the ink of purpose, or are you allowing manipulation to write it for you, line by line, until greatness is just a forgotten draft? Chapter 2. The Whispering Pen. Voices that rewrite your identity. There is a pen that never stops writing, one you often don't see, yet its ink marks every decision, belief, and emotion you hold about yourself. This pen doesn't scream, it whispers. It doesn't force itself on you, it speaks subtly, repetitively, and strategically. We call it the whispering pen. Unlike the obvious lies shouted from a mountaintop, the whispering pen works in silence, rewriting the pages of your identity while you are still busy living. These voices come from culture, media, childhood, trauma, environments, relationships, and even your own distorted self-talk. Left unchecked, they become the co-authors of your life story, stealing your truth and replacing it with falsehood. Where do the whispers come from? The whispering pen doesn't have a single hand, it is passed around like a baton between multiple forces. These are some of the chief scribes, family scripts, you'll never amount to anything, people like us don't succeed. These whispers come early and settle deep. Social voices, you're only valuable if you look a certain way or have a certain lifestyle. These whispers shape the mask we wear. Religious misinterpretations, you're not good enough for God, you must suffer to be spiritual. These can deform a soul-seeking truth. Failure and rejection, every no, every heartbreak, every loss can whisper, you're not worthy. Internal critics, the most dangerous whisper is the one you repeat to yourself daily. I can't. I'm not ready. I'm a fraud. These whispers become self-fulfilling prophecies when believed. They don't just echo in your mind, they take up permanent residence in your identity. The danger of subtle rewriting. The devil doesn't erase your greatness in one stroke, he edits your identity in the margins. Slowly. Quietly. Strategically. Before long, you're no longer living from your truth, but from a version of yourself crafted by whispers. You stop dreaming big. You settle for less. You shy away from leadership. You tolerate abuse. You stop showing up as you. All because someone, or something, rewrote your inner narrative with the pen of deception. Signs your identity has been rewritten. 1. You constantly seek validation. You live for applause because you've forgotten your inherent worth. 2. You self-sabotage. Every time you're close to success, something in you pulls the emergency brake. 3. You play small. You choose safe zones, not growth zones. 4. You struggle to say no. You confuse being kind with being exploited. 5. You feel like an imposter, even when qualified. You think, I'm not supposed to be here. These are not flaws, they're footprints of whispers that rewrote your self-perception. How to silence the whispering pen. 1. Recognize the voices. Whose voice are you hearing when doubt enters your mind? Is it your mother's critique? A teacher's insult? A society's unrealistic standard? Identify the source. 2. Interrogate the narrative. Ask, is this true? Who benefits from me believing this? Often, you'll find the whisper was never yours, it was implanted. 3. Replace with truth. Truth doesn't shout. Like whispers, it speaks softly, but with clarity. You are valuable. You are capable. You are worthy of love, growth, and greatness. 4. Create a new script. Write affirmations. Declare your vision. Surround yourself with truth tellers. Every day, make truth louder than the lie. 5. Protect your inner room. Stop giving everyone access to your identity. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Guard your heart, because from it flows your life. You are the author, not the echo. If you do not take control of the pen, someone else will write your story. You'll become an echo of others' fears, failures, or fantasies. But your life was meant to be an original manuscript, written with power, clarity, and purpose. The whispering pen is real, but so is your voice. And your voice, once awakened, can silence every false narrative, reclaim your identity, and begin a new chapter. Final reflection. Who is holding the pen? Look at your beliefs. Look at how you treat yourself. Look at how you let others treat you. Are those conclusions you reached through truth? Or whispers you absorbed without questioning? It's time to take back the pen. This chapter ends not when the lies stop whispering, but when you stop listening and start writing again, boldly, truthfully, fearlessly. Chapter 3. Signed in blood. The dangerous pacts we make silently. Not every contract in life is signed with a pen. Some are signed with emotions. Some with silence. Others with fear. But the most dangerous ones are signed in blood, metaphorically, yes, but deeply binding nonetheless. These are the invisible agreements we make with pain, with trauma, with failure, with mediocrity, and with the false sense of safety that keeps us from stepping into greatness. These pacts are not made in a courtroom or during a business meeting. They are made in secret moments, a heartbreak that convinces you to stop loving, a rejection that teaches you to stop trying, a betrayal that hardens your heart. Without realizing it, you say to yourself, never again, and with that, the devil's dairy gets a signature in red. What are these blood pacts? A blood pact, in this context, is a binding psychological and emotional agreement you make with yourself based on a painful experience or internalized lie. You may not even know you've made one, but it runs your life from the background. Here are some of the most common ones. The pact of self-doubt. I'll never try anything new again. I'm just not good enough. The pact of emotional numbness. If I don't feel, I won't get hurt again. The pact of perfectionism. If I'm flawless, they can't reject me. The pact of avoidance. If I never risk, I'll never fail. The pact of people pleasing. If I make everyone happy, maybe they won't leave me. These agreements form in moments of vulnerability but grow into strongholds that enslave your decisions and diminish your potential. Why these pacts are so dangerous? 1. They create invisible chains. You think you're living freely, but you're constantly reacting, not responding, to life. You avoid opportunities, relationships, or challenges not because you're wise, but because a past pact is calling the shots too. They bury your true self. These pacts are made to protect you, but in doing so, they build a cage. You stop expressing your real thoughts, passions, and dreams. You trade authenticity for survival. 3. They attract toxic patterns. What you agree with internally, you subconsciously attract externally. The pact of low self-worth attracts disrespect. The pact of fear attracts stagnation. The pact of bitterness attracts isolation. 4. They rewrite your narrative. Every decision you make from a blood pact shifts the direction of your life. You stop pursuing that dream. You walk away from that opportunity. You settle. And soon, the life you're living is not yours, it's the life fear chose for you. How to identify a pact you've made? Ask yourself, what do I avoid, even though I desire it? What situations or people make me feel trapped or powerless? When did I start playing small? What rules do I live by that are rooted in pain, not truth? Pacts often masquerade as wisdom, but they're actually wounds with structure. Breaking the pact, the path to freedom. 1. Name the pact. Bring it into the light. Say it out loud or write it down. I made a pact with fear after I failed. Awareness weakens its power. 2. Trace the origin. Where were you when you signed that pact? What happened? Who hurt you? Uncovering the moment helps you reclaim the authority you gave away. 3. Revoke the agreement. Say it with intention. I break the agreement I made with fear, self-doubt, and mediocrity. It no longer serves me. 4. Rewrite the contract. Replace the pact with a new declaration rooted in truth. I am capable and courageous. Even in the face of failure, I deserve love, success, and peace. I choose boldness over fear, growth over safety. 5. Create accountability. Surround yourself with voices that speak truth, not whispers of manipulation. Community matters. Growth requires witness. The blood is not binding forever. You may have signed it in your darkest moment, but you are not bound to that version of yourself forever. Your past agreement does not define your future possibilities. The devil may have tricked you into signing, but you have the authority to tear the page out of the diary. There is something sacred about refusing to let yesterday's wounds dictate tomorrow's greatness. And every time you break a pact with fear, you reclaim a piece of your soul. Final reflection. Who did you make a deal with? What if the biggest enemy to your progress isn't your environment, your upbringing, or your haters, but the deal you made with a lie. The real power comes not just from recognizing the devil's ink, but from refusing to sign with it again. Your greatness demands new agreements, ones built on vision, faith, and truth. It's time to unsign the blood contract. Rip out the page. Reclaim your power. And write a new chapter. Chapter 4. Daily Entries of Doubt. How insecurity creeps into greatness. Doubt doesn't come through the front door with horns and fury. It enters quietly, pen in hand, like a ghost at midnight, scribbling invisible entries into the diary of your soul. One whisper here. One hesitation there. And over time, insecurity becomes the silent author of your decisions, relationships, and dreams. What makes this so dangerous is not just the presence of doubt, but the consistency of it. Like daily entries in a toxic journal, it chips away at your confidence until you forget who you are. It's death by 1,000 cuts. Doubt doesn't have to destroy you instantly, it just needs to rewrite you slowly. And often, the greatest targets of doubt are not the weak, but the great. Why doubt targets the great? You don't put a padlock on an empty vault. The enemy of greatness understands that insecurity is the perfect tool for neutralizing powerful people. If you can't be stopped by circumstances, you can still be stopped by yourself. That's the devil's genius. Convince someone with massive potential to shrink themselves, to question their voice, their worth, their path, and they'll sabotage their own success without outside help. Doubt is not the absence of ability, it is the presence of a parasite feeding on potential. The anatomy of insecurity. Let's break down how insecurity sneaks into your life and weakens the foundation of your greatness. 1. The comparison trap. Doubt begins when you measure your worth against someone else's highlight reel. Social media, peers, competitors, they become false mirrors reflecting distorted images of inadequacy too. The inner critic. You hear a voice that says, "You're not enough, you're too late, you're not qualified." What you don't realize is that this voice was trained by rejection, failure, ridicule, or broken environments. 3. The fear of exposure. Doubt thrives when you're afraid people will see the real you, so you hide behind perfectionism, overachievement, or silence. 4. Emotional echoes. Past betrayals, mistakes, and traumas become background noise. They don't shout, but they hum steadily. Don't try again. Remember what happened last time. 5. Inconsistent wins. Ironically, even success can breed insecurity. When you win without knowing why, you feel like a fraud. Doubt whispers, "It was just luck." You won't repeat it, signs that doubt is making daily entries. You hesitate to say yes to new opportunities. You over-apologize or downplay your strengths. You procrastinate, not from laziness, but from fear of not being good enough. You rely heavily on external validation. You talk yourself out of goals with rational excuses. This is not humility. It's sabotage wearing a humble disguise. How insecurity hides in high achievers. Many high performers are secretly plagued by insecurity. Their excellence is real, but so is their fear of not measuring up. They overwork to compensate for inner doubt. They people please. They micromanage. They don't delegate because they fear being outshined. This is why greatness isn't the absence of doubt, it's the mastery of it. Overcoming the daily entries of doubt. 1. Confront the author. Ask yourself, whose voice is this? Is it yours? Or was it planted by a parent, teacher, ex, society? Exposing the source removes the mystery and takes away its power. 2. Rewrite the narrative. Doubt writes lies. You must respond with truth. When doubt says, "You're not ready," reply with, "I'm growing stronger every day." Daily affirmations aren't cheesy, they're warfare. 3. Take imperfect action. Perfection is the enemy of momentum. Start before you feel ready. Each step silences the doubt a little more. 4. Build a circle of mirrors. Surround yourself with people who reflect your true value, not your insecurities. Voices of truth drown out whispers of doubt. 5. Record your wins. Keep a confidence journal. Every time you succeed, write it down. Read it on the days doubt shows up. The power of truthful repetition. Doubt enters through repetition. So must truth. Confidence isn't a gift, it's a muscle. And muscles are built with consistent, deliberate effort. Speak truth until your soul believes it. I have something valuable to offer. I am not defined by fear. I was born for greatness. I can grow through anything. Every day you speak truth is a day you erase an entry of doubt. Final reflection. Whose diary are you living from? Is your life being guided by entries you didn't write? Are you making choices based on fear rather than truth? The devil's diary is filled with falsehoods, rewritten identities, and quiet agreements that sabotage destiny. But you have the pen now. And every time you show up boldly, every time you act with courage, you write a new entry in your true story. Rip out the pages filled with doubt. Begin a new volume of confidence. And let your greatness become louder than your fear. Chapter 5. The seduction of shortcuts. Fast tracks that lead to failure. The devil never lures greatness with horns and fire, he lures it with a map. A glittering, golden map marked shortcut. It promises ease. It promises speed. It whispers, why take the long road when I can get you there quicker? But what he doesn't tell you is this, the shortcut is not a path, it's a trap. It looks like a straight road to success, but it ends in sabotage, scandal, and shattered potential. It is the fast track that bypasses process, character, discipline, and authenticity, and it always leads to failure. This is the seduction of shortcuts. They look like blessings, but they're bait. Why we fall for the shortcut illusion. 1. The pressure to arrive fast. In a world of instant fame, overnight influencers, and 30-day success formulas, the long game feels like a punishment. Everyone seems to be winning quickly, so we feel like we're behind if we're building slowly. That's when shortcuts start to look divine too. Impatience with process. Growth takes time. Mastery takes repetition. But we often confuse delay with denial. We mistake process for punishment. The shortcut seduces us by offering fruit without planting roots. 3. The fear of irrelevance. The voice says, if you don't do it now, someone else will. It creates urgency without wisdom, action without preparation. And so we jump for ego and entitlement. We believe we deserve the rewards without the work. The seduction of shortcuts feeds the ego, making us think we are exceptions to the rule. Forms of modern shortcuts that destroy greatness. 1. Copycat success. Imitating without understanding. You mimic someone's strategy without their struggle, and it collapses when tested. 2. Buying influence. Trying to purchase credibility instead of earning it. From fake followers to paid awards, it looks good, but it has no foundation. 3. Skipping training. Avoiding mentorship, learning, or practice. You show up on the big stage without preparation, and it shows. 4. Manipulation for advancement. Flattery, deceit, or using others to climb. It may get you through doors, but it won't keep you in the room. 5. Compromising values for visibility. Trading integrity for attention. Doing what's trending instead of what's true. It may boost your brand, but it bankrupts your soul. The dangerous consequences of shortcuts. 1. Shallow roots, quick collapse. Anything you build without depth will eventually crumble under pressure. Shortcuts bypass the internal work, so you look successful but unsustainable. 2. Skill without substance. You might look polished, but you're hollow inside. When real challenges come, you won't have the depth to survive. 3. Lost identity. You begin to confuse who you really are with the image you've curated. You trade authenticity for applause, and lose your soul in the process. 4. Public exposure of private gaps. What shortcuts cover in private will be exposed in public. Your gaps eventually show. And when they do, the fall is louder than the rise. Lessons from history and real life. Samson, gifted, anointed, but addicted to shortcuts. He used strength instead of wisdom and fell into the arms of Delilah. His shortcut cost him his vision, literally and metaphorically. The prodigal son wanted his inheritance now. He bypassed the process of maturity and wasted what was meant to build his legacy. Modern CEOs and celebrities, many rise fast through fame or shortcuts and crash harder through scandal, fraud, or personal breakdowns. Their roots couldn't support their spotlight. The power of the process. Greatness is never microwaved, it is marinated. The process may feel slow, but it's sacred. It doesn't just build your resume, it builds your resistance. It strengthens your character, sharpens your instincts, and aligns your soul. The slow path teaches patience, to wait for the right moment. Preparation, to be ready when opportunity comes. Perseverance, to last longer than hype. Purity, to stay true to your calling in a noisy world. The process doesn't delay you, it develops you. How to resist the seduction of shortcuts. 1. Set long-term vision over short-term validation. If you live for applause, you'll take any route that gets you noticed. But when you live for legacy, you choose the road less traveled too. Value process as progress. Every delay is adding depth. Every slow season is preparing you for sustainability. Choose growth over speed. 3. Discern flash versus flame. Flash gets attention. Flame gives heat. Choose lasting impact over instant visibility. 4. Surround yourself with builders, not hackers. Builders love the process. Hackers look for loopholes. Your circle should challenge your shortcuts and encourage your development. 5. Ask the hard question. Before you take a step, ask, am I doing this for optics or outcome? Is this a leap of faith or a jump off a cliff? Final reflection. The road to real greatness. The devil's diary is full of shortcuts, maps that promise gold but end in graves. Don't sell your future for a faster route. The time you spend growing in silence will echo louder than the noise of shortcuts. Remember, oak trees grow slow, but they stand for centuries. Be willing to build slow so you can last long. Greatness is not just where you arrive, it's how you got there. Refuse the shortcut. Honor the process. And let your legacy be one that was forged, not faked. Chapter 6. Pages of Pride. When ego becomes the enemy. There's a subtle pen stroke in the devil's diary that has taken down empires, destroyed leaders, and aborted destinies before they fully blossomed. That pen writes in invisible ink, until the damage is done. Its name is pride, and its language is ego. Ego doesn't always enter with arrogance. Sometimes it enters dressed as confidence, self-assurance, or conviction. But in its darkest form, ego stops you from listening, learning, evolving, or acknowledging weakness. It becomes a wall that separates you from truth, wisdom, relationships, and ultimately, your own greatness. The most dangerous enemy is not the one outside of you, it's the voice within that believes it is beyond error. Understanding the nature of ego. Ego is not identity, it's illusion. It is the version of you created to feel superior, immune to correction, and worthy of unearned admiration. It thrives on applause, but crumbles under accountability. It seeks recognition, but resists reflection. It takes offense at truth, because truth exposes its fragility. Ego is not power, it is pride wearing a mask. How ego creeps into the story of greatness. Like pages in a journal, ego writes itself into the narrative of success, whispering that you are the reason everything works, that you are the center, and that no one else's wisdom is as sharp as yours. 1. The subtle drift from purpose to performance. When your drive to serve becomes a hunger to be seen, ego has taken the wheel. You start prioritizing image over impact. 2. The rejection of feedback. Ego hates mirrors. It fights criticism, even when it's constructive. It convinces you that every disagreement is an attack. 3. The I already know that syndrome. Ego is allergic to humility. It believes it knows enough, and stops growing. This is when your ascent turns into a silent descent. 4. Needing to be the smartest in the room. Ego thrives when you surround yourself with flatterers and silence the voices that challenge you. It trades growth for comfort. 5. Taking credit, avoiding blame. When ego leads, success is yours, but failure is theirs. Accountability becomes negotiable, and responsibility becomes selective. Historical and modern day examples. Lucifer's fall. The original story of pride is that of Lucifer, an angel who wanted to be God. His beauty, gifts, and position were not enough. Pride rewrote his identity, and caused his fall from glory to disgrace. King Uzziah. In ancient texts, Uzziah started with humility and divine favor. But when he became strong, he grew proud, and entered sacred spaces he wasn't authorized to. His pride led to his downfall and leprosy. Modern titans. Leaders, entrepreneurs, pastors, politicians. The headlines are filled with talented people who fell not because of external enemies, but internal ego. When they stopped listening, they stopped learning, and eventually, stopped leading. The cost of ego to personal greatness. Isolation. Ego drives people away. Those who would challenge or sharpen you are pushed out. Stagnation. Ego ends your growth. You stop asking questions, stop admitting flaws, stop improving. Blind spots. Ego makes you unaware of your weaknesses. And what you don't confront, will one day confront you. Downfall in public. What ego hides in private often gets exposed in public. And pride always comes before a fall. Misplaced identity. Ego builds identity on performance and praise, not on purpose or values. How to recognize ego in your own diary. Ask yourself, am I difficult to correct? Do I feel threatened by others' success? Do I crave attention more than impact? Do I reject opinions that don't agree with mine? Do I disguise control as excellence or standards? If you answered yes to any of the above, ego may be writing your story. Strategies to dethrone ego and embrace humility. 1. Keep a truth-telling circle. Surround yourself with people who tell you the truth, not just what you want to hear. Give them permission to challenge your thinking too. Embrace the phrase, "I don't know." Those words open doors to growth. No one learns with a full cup. Empty yourself often. 3. Practice the discipline of listening. True greatness listens more than it speaks. Practice hearing to understand, not just to respond for. Celebrate others loudly. Shine light on others without needing to be the center. Great leaders make space, not just noise. 5. Reflect daily. Ask yourself, did I lead with pride or purpose today? Did I dismiss wisdom because of ego? Regular reflection is how you catch ego before it writes more damage. The paradox of greatness. The greatest people are not those who stand tallest, but those who kneel most often. Humility is not weakness, it is wisdom. It doesn't think less of itself, it simply thinks of self less. The devil's trap is to convince you that pride is power. But true power comes from knowing your strength, and not needing to flaunt it. Ego demands spotlight. Humility shines without one. Final reflection, whose hand is holding the pen? Your life is a living diary. Each choice is a line. Each reaction, a sentence. The question is, who's writing the story? Is it the quiet confidence of grounded greatness? Or the loud voice of an ego desperate to be seen? Tear out the pages written in pride. Start a new chapter. Let humility take the pen. Because the ones who change the world are not the loudest, but the most rooted. Chapter 7. The dictation of distractions. Losing focus, losing destiny. Distraction is the devil's silent dictator. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It doesn't push you off a cliff, it gently leads you down a detour. And while you are busy, it makes you believe you're productive. While you are entertained, it makes you believe you're engaged. And before you realize it, your vision is blurry, your goals are sidelined, and your destiny is delayed, or even destroyed. Greatness isn't usually stolen in one night, it is slowly leaked away through 1,000 tiny distractions. The devil doesn't have to destroy you. He just needs to keep you busy with the wrong things. The power and fragility of focus. Focus is not just attention, it is direction. It is your ability to center your energy, thoughts, and actions on what truly matters. When you lose focus, you don't just lose time, you lose trajectory. A distracted person is like a ship without a compass. It may be moving, but it's drifting. And drift always leads to danger. The devil's most used tool, diversion. In the devil's dairy, distraction is not always evil in appearance. Often, it comes cloaked in good things, just not the right things. The opportunity that takes you off your core mission. The relationship that consumes more than it contributes. The addiction to social validation that replaces inner conviction. The news, noise, and notifications that rob you of clarity and creativity. The devil dictates these distractions, line by line, making you forget what really matters until your attention is divided and your purpose becomes diluted. Types of distractions that destroy greatness. 1. Digital distractions. We are living in the age of constant noise. From endless scrolling to compulsive checking of messages and dopamine-driven apps, our minds are rarely silent. Attention is currency, and your greatness is bankrupting because your mind is leased out to digital clowns too. Emotional distractions. Old wounds, unresolved bitterness, unnecessary drama, emotional clutter keeps your soul noisy. And where there's noise, clarity cannot dwell. You cannot build a focused future while dragging the chains of past offenses. 3. Opportunity distractions. Not every open door is divine. Some are cleverly disguised delays. Busyness is not always business. Being pulled into too many directions makes you ineffective in your primary direction. Learn to say no to good ideas so you can say yes to the right calling. 4. Social distractions. People pleasing is a full-time distraction. The need to be liked, approved, or applauded keeps you from being authentic, decisive, and visionary. You cannot run your race while watching everyone else's lane. 5. Mental distractions. Overthinking, self-doubt, comparison, anxiety. These aren't just inner struggles, they are focus assassins. They drain your mental bandwidth and leave you exhausted before you even take action. The consequences of living distracted. Stalled progress. You're always starting but never finishing. Lack of mastery. You become a jack of all trades, but master of none. Fractured identity. You forget who you are because you're constantly reacting instead of creating. Missed opportunities. What should take 3 years takes 10. Or never. Weakened character. Distraction is not neutral. It deteriorates discipline over time. When you entertain every distraction, you slowly evict purpose from your life. Lessons from Samson, the strong man who lost focus. Samson, a man born with divine strength, had a clear purpose, deliver his people. But his downfall came not through a powerful enemy, but through persistent distractions. Emotional lust, compromise, and wrong associations eroded his vision. Literally. He lost focus, and then lost his eyes. This is the power of distraction. It blinds the strong. It silences the gifted. It weakens the mighty, not with swords, but with seduction. Focus as a superpower. Focus is the most valuable asset in a distracted world. It separates amateurs from experts. Talkers from doers. Dreamers from achievers. To focus is to fight back. To choose purpose over popularity, discipline over dopamine, vision over vanity. Your ability to sustain focus is what determines the size of your impact. Strategies to defeat distraction and regain control. 1. Clarify your mission. If you don't know what matters most, everything will seem urgent. Write down your mission, daily. Anchor your actions to it. Remind yourself why you're here to. Create sacred time blocks. Designate focused hours every day, where your phone is off, your space is quiet, and your energy is high. Use this time to build, create, learn, or work deeply on your destiny. 3. Audit your attention. Where does your time go? Who's draining your energy? What apps are eating your hours? Audit your life like a CEO audits finances. Attention is your currency, spend it on what multiplies you. 4. Cut the noise. Unfollow, unsubscribe, and unhook. You don't need to know everything. Curate your environment like your life depends on it, because it does. 5. Master the power of no. Saying yes to distractions is saying no to your destiny. Be ruthless about your focus. You are not for everything. You are here for something. The diary rewrite, from scattered to strategic. The devil's diary loves to fill pages with pointless pursuits, wasted hours, and endless excuses. But it's time to flip the page. Write a new chapter, one of clarity, intensity, and purpose. Turn off the noise. Tune into your vision. Take back your time. Train your mind to hold focus like a muscle. You don't need to be everywhere. You need to be exactly where destiny requires you to be. Final reflection. The pen is in your hands. Every moment distracted is a moment delayed. Every minute lost to noise is a seed stolen from your harvest. Greatness is not a gift, it's a discipline. And discipline starts with choosing what deserves your attention, and deleting what doesn't. Will you dictate your day, or let distraction do it for you? Close the devil's dictation. Open the book of destiny. And write, with unshakable focus. Chapter 8. Schemes of comparison. The trap of measuring against others. Comparison is a slow poison that tastes like motivation but kills like insecurity. It's one of the devil's most effective schemes, subtle, slippery, and socially accepted. He doesn't have to tell you you're worthless. All he needs to do is show you someone better, then sit back and let you destroy your own confidence. Welcome to the scheme of comparison, where greatness goes to die, not in failure, but in imitation. The illusion of the mirror. We live in a world that worships images. Social media has turned life into a constant highlight reel, and scrolling has become an act of self-evaluation. You're not comparing your real life to someone else's real life, you're comparing your struggles to their filtered success. But here's the truth, comparison kills clarity. It shifts your eyes off your path and makes you chase shadows. It makes you forget your value, your pace, your grace, and your mission. And at the devil's dairy, comparison is not just a page, it's a playbook. The trap defined. Why comparison is so dangerous. 1. It breeds envy. You start resenting others for what they have, rather than appreciating what you possess. 2. It drains energy. Instead of investing in growth, you waste time obsessing over others. 3. It distorts identity. You start copying, mimicking, and abandoning your uniqueness to fit someone else's mold. 4. It delays purpose. You chase validation over vision, and applause over authenticity. The devil doesn't have to lie about your worth. He just needs to make you doubt it every time someone else wins. The comparison loop, how it starts and grows. You observe someone's achievement. You question your progress. You feel inadequate. You overcompensate or withdraw. You lose focus on your own journey. You spiral into self-doubt or forced performance. Then the devil scribbles another note, mission accomplished. Then now duplicate instead of a destiny. Biblical insight, Saul and David. King Saul is the perfect example. He was chosen, anointed, and equipped, but the moment David received praise, Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s. Comparison entered his heart like venom. Saul was no longer focused on ruling. He became obsessed with outshining. And at the end, he lost the throne, not because he wasn't capable, but because he couldn't handle comparison. That's the scheme. The devil replaces your vision with a scoreboard. And you self-sabotage in an effort to outdo someone you were never meant to compete with. The psychology behind comparison. Social comparison theory states that people determine their self-worth based on how they stack up against others. There are two kinds. Upward comparison. Comparing yourself to someone better can inspire or depress. Downward comparison. Comparing yourself to someone worse can boost ego or breed complacency. Either way, you lose. Because the true measure of growth is not how others are doing, but how you are developing. The consequences of living in comparison. You stop taking authentic risks. You become a poor copy instead of a powerful original. You judge your value by visibility instead of impact. You waste your season wishing for someone else's story. You begin to resent your own blessings. Comparison doesn't just rob joy, it robs authenticity, creativity, and courage. The antidote: cultivating personal mastery. To break the scheme of comparison, you must master yourself. Here's how. 1. Know your assignment. You are not here to be a version of someone else. You are here on assignment. Clarity of purpose silences the noise of other success. Run the race set before you. Hebrews 12. 1. 2. Celebrate others without diminishing yourself. Their win is not your loss. Light does not compete with light, it collaborates. Greatness multiplies when we cheer, not compare. 3. Audit your triggers. What platforms or people trigger insecurity? What metrics make you feel small? Detox your environment. Control your input to protect your self-image. 4. Create personal milestones. Don't measure growth by someone else's chapter. Set your own benchmarks. Track your own wins. Honor your own pace. 5. Embrace your authentic voice. There's power in being you. The world doesn't need another echo. It needs your raw, refined, real essence. The devil's dairy fears authenticity. It's the one thing he cannot copy. The tragedy of copycats. Throughout history, some of the greatest downfalls occurred when individuals abandoned their originality. Great entrepreneurs who chased trends rather than solving problems. Artists who imitated rather than innovated. Leaders who lived for applause instead of purpose. Your uniqueness is your superpower. When you surrender it to comparison, you unplug from destiny and plug into insecurity. Rewrite the diary, from comparison to confidence. The devil's diary says, you're not enough, look at them. You're behind, you should be more like, you'll never catch up, but here's your new script, I'm running my race, I celebrate, not compare, my path is my power, no one can be me better than me. Comparison limits you to someone else's ceiling. But confidence unlocks your personal sky. Final reflection, you are not late. You are on course. The trap of measuring against others will always make you feel lesser, slower, and lost. But remember, trees don't compete for height. They just grow. Your journey is sacred. Your timeline is divine. Your voice is needed. Close the scheme of comparison. Burn that page in the devil's diary. And walk confidently into the fullness of who you were created to be. Chapter 9. The footnotes of fear. Hidden clauses that paralyze action. Fear rarely comes as a roaring monster. It creeps in subtly, like a footnote at the bottom of a great idea. It doesn't deny your dream outright, it simply asks, but what if you fail? And just like that, the momentum dies. In the devil's diary, fear isn't always loud. Often, it's written in the margins, buried in the fine print of every opportunity, success, and decision. It's a strategy to paralyze the soul while keeping the body moving. You appear busy. You seem alive. But deep down, fear has quietly stolen the pen from your hand. The psychology of paralyzing fear. Fear is one of the most natural and ancient responses of the human brain. It's protective, but also, when manipulated, it becomes a prison. There are two kinds of fear. Rational fear protects. Irrational fear paralyzes. The devil thrives on the irrational. He doesn't have to stop your destiny directly. He only needs to feed you what ifs that make you hesitate, delay, and eventually abandon. Fear is faith, misplaced in the wrong outcome. Hidden clauses. The devil's footnote in your life story. Just like a legal contract, fear hides in the fine print. You accept the main terms of a goal, but tucked underneath are toxic clauses that look like, you're not good enough, people will laugh, you'll lose everything, this isn't the right time, you'll be exposed as a fraud. These footnotes are carefully planted at every major junction of greatness. Starting a business, writing a book, leading a team, starting a relationship, or stepping into a new level of responsibility. They seem harmless. They are lethal. Fear's three primary weapons. 1. The fear of failure. This is the most common. It's the lie that mistakes define your worth. That setbacks are signs you should have never tried. What it sounds like, if this doesn't work, I'll never recover. I'll lose my reputation. They'll say, I told you so. The truth. Failure is not a verdict. It's a tutor. Every great leader has failed. What separates the great from the forgotten is what they did next to. The fear of judgment. This is the fear of other people's opinions. It's the fear that everyone's watching and waiting for you to mess up. What it sounds like, what will they think? They'll laugh at me, I'm not good enough to be seen. The truth. Most people are too busy judging themselves to notice your imperfections. And those who mock you don't matter. Those who matter won't mock you. 3. The fear of success. Yes, you read that right. Some people aren't afraid of failure. They're afraid of what success might cost, responsibility, visibility, higher expectations, and the loss of anonymity. What it sounds like, what if I actually pull this off? Then what? I'm not ready to lead or be in the spotlight. If I succeed, I'll lose my current life or comfort. This is fear disguised as humility. The devil writes in the margins, you can't handle the weight of what you're asking for, so, instead of preparing for elevation, you self-sabotage or shrink back, just enough to remain unseen. But hear this, success doesn't break you, unpreparedness does. And the only way to be prepared is to walk toward what you fear, not away from it. The paralysis effect, when fear wins. When the footnotes of fear go unchecked, here's what happens. Dreams remain drafts. Goals stay on vision boards. Talents rust from inactivity. Relationships stall. Confidence erodes. You become like a bird with wings, too afraid of the wind. Grounded, not by chains, but by what ifs. And that's exactly where the devil wants you, almost ready, almost brave, almost great. Biblical parallel, Gideon's fear versus God's call. In Judges 6, Gideon was called a mighty man of valor, but fear had written footnotes in his mind. I'm the least in my family, we're the weakest tribe, are you sure? God, he hid in wine presses instead of standing on war fronts. But God didn't consult Gideon's fear, he spoke to his future. God doesn't use the fearless, he uses the willing. The devil's diary may list all your inadequacies, but God's plan rewrites the narrative with boldness, exposing the hidden clauses. To overcome fear, you must read the fine print out loud, name it, challenge it, and rewrite it. Here's how. 1. Identify the root. Ask, what exactly am I afraid of? Be honest. Is it criticism? Failure? Loss? Embarrassment? Visibility? 2. Examine the evidence. Ask, is there any truth to this fear? And if so, what's the worst that can actually happen? Most fears lose power when exposed to reason. 3. Reframe the narrative. Don't let fear have the final word. Turn, I might fail into I might learn. They'll judge me into their opinion doesn't pay my bills. I'm not ready into growth comes by going. 4. Act in spite of it. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's a decision to act anyway. Every bold step silences the diary's footnotes. Fear's biggest fear, action. Fear thrives in inaction. It multiplies in your mind, exaggerates in your imagination, and embeds itself deeper with every delay. But the moment you move, even with trembling hands, you weaken its grip. Write the first line. Make the first call. Launch the idea. Say yes to the opportunity. Submit the application. Even if your voice shakes, speak. Even if your knees wobble, walk. Every small action is a page torn out of the devil's fear-filled diary. Rewrite the footnotes. Let's take some common fear footnotes and rewrite them with truth. Fear footnote 1. You are not enough. Empowering rewriting. I am growing and evolving daily. Fear footnote 2. You'll embarrass yourself. Empowering rewriting. Every master was once a beginner. Fear footnote 3. This isn't the right time. Empowering rewriting. Now is better than never. Fear footnote 4. People will laugh. Empowering rewriting. Their laughter is not my limit. Fear footnote 5. You are too late. Empowering rewriting. My time is divine. When you rewrite fear, you reclaim your story. Final reflection, tear out the fine print. Greatness doesn't come to those without fear, it comes to those who no longer allow fear to be the author of their choices. Fear may have a footnote, but it doesn't deserve a chapter. So, tear it out. Cross it out. Write in bold ink, I am not afraid to move forward. The devil's schemes are only powerful in silence. The moment you step out, speak up, and take action, fear loses its voice, and destiny regains hers. Chapter 10. Manipulative Mentors. When influence becomes control. Mentorship, in its purest form, is a bridge to greatness. It's a divine channel through which wisdom, experience, and direction flow. But not every mentor is sent by heaven. Some are scribes in the devil's dairy, cloaked in wisdom but driven by control. They offer guidance that cages rather than frees. Their influence disguises itself as support while it slowly becomes dominion. Let's expose how manipulative mentors operate, the signs to watch for, and how to protect your destiny from the illusion of guidance. The mask of mentorship. The most dangerous manipulation often wears a kind face. Manipulative mentors don't walk in with red flags, they arrive with promises of growth, access, and wisdom. And many times, they begin by genuinely helping. But somewhere along the journey, the relationship becomes less about your freedom and more about their authority. The devil doesn't always fight from the outside. Sometimes, he advises from within, the shift from influence to control. True mentorship empowers. Manipulative mentorship enslaves. The shift happens subtly, from let me show you the way to only I know the way, from I believe in your potential to you can't do this without me, from here's some guidance to here's what you must do. What begins as encouragement becomes expectation. What started as wisdom becomes a leash. Tactics of manipulative mentors. Here are the hidden strategies manipulative mentors use to keep your greatness under their control. 1. Guilt tripping for gratitude. They constantly remind you of what they've done for you. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't be here. Don't forget who gave you your first break. Gratitude is healthy, but guilt-based obligation is toxic. You owe your mentors honor, not ownership of your future too. Discouraging independence. They panic when you try to make decisions without them. You're not ready for that. That's not a move I would make. Manipulative mentors fear losing relevance. So, they undermine your confidence to keep you tethered to their opinion. 3. Isolation from other voices. They subtly, or overtly, discourage you from learning from others. I don't think that person is good for you. You don't need anyone else's input. They want to be your only source so they can become your single point of truth, even when it's not truthful. Undermining your growth. They highlight your flaws more than your progress. You still have a lot to learn. You're not as sharp as you think. This keeps you perpetually insecure and dependent on their affirmation. 5. Transactional relationship. They expect loyalty in return for wisdom. If you don't do this for me, don't expect help next time. After all I've invested in you, this is how you repay me. They treat mentorship like a business deal, not a calling. Why the devil uses mentorship? Because it works. Genuine mentors can accelerate destinies, so what better way to derail someone than through a false one? The devil understands that most people won't listen to their enemies. So he speaks through trusted voices. He doesn't need to confront you. He only needs to corrupt your source of influence. This is why you must discern the difference between a mentor who guides and a mentor who governs. Biblical parallel. Eli and Samuel versus Saul and Samuel. Eli and Samuel. Eli, though flawed, directed Samuel to hear God's voice. When you hear the voice, say, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." This is mentorship that points you back to God. Saul and Samuel. Saul, however, grew dependent on Samuel to the point he couldn't move without him, even after God had departed. He feared Samuel's absence more than God's silence. That dependency became his downfall. Manipulative mentors want to become your voice instead of training you to hear your own. How to identify healthy mentorship. Here's how to recognize a mentor who genuinely wants your growth. If your mentor leaves you more empowered, inspired, and able to navigate life without them, they're heaven sent. If you're constantly feeling controlled, anxious to please, or unable to move unless they approve, you may be under manipulation. Breaking free without breaking honor. This is delicate. You can break free from manipulation without dishonoring the mentor. Here's how. 1. Recognize the pattern. Acknowledge what's happening. Don't excuse manipulation just because someone once helped you. 2. Clarify boundaries. Begin taking ownership of your decisions. Respectfully limit how much influence they have over every area of your life. 3. Find new counsel. Open your circle. Seek other mentors, coaches, or advisors. Diversify your input. 4. Thank and transition. If the relationship has turned toxic, thank them for their contribution and move on. It doesn't have to end in conflict, but it must end in clarity. Final reflection. You were born to fly, not follow forever. The highest role of a mentor is to help you become whole, wise, and free. You are not called to remain a mentee forever. You are called to evolve, lead, and eventually mentor others. The devil's manipulative mentors fear your wings, so they clip them with dependency. Tear that page out. Rewrite it. You are capable. You are growing. You are allowed to outgrow your teachers. True mentors are not ladders you climb forever. They are launch pads. Launch. Chapter 11. The Devil in the Details. How neglect destroys dreams. Big dreams don't die in big battles, they perish in small neglects. Greatness isn't usually stolen overnight by storms of opposition, it's slowly eroded by missed moments, skipped responsibilities, and the belief that I'll get to it later. The devil doesn't always attack the vision directly. Sometimes, he infiltrates through delay, distraction, and negligence, subtle and almost invisible. One forgotten detail here, one postponed action there, and before you know it, the dream fades, not by force, but by failure to follow through. This is a true danger, not what you confront, but what you ignore. The danger of dismissed details. The small things matter. Excellence is not built on intentions, it is built on execution. And execution lives in the details. Neglect is the silent killer. It never screams. It never crashes in. It simply lets things rot, slowly. One unread email becomes a missed opportunity. One unpaid bill turns into a mountain of debt. One ignored conversation ruins a relationship. One skipped day of discipline leads to months of stagnation. And all the while, the devil writes in his diary, let them dream as long as they ignore the details. I'll win in their inconsistency, the lies that justify neglect. Neglect often hides behind clever rationalizations. Here are the common ones. 1. It's not that important, but everything big is built from small components. One missing bolt can crash a plane. One unchecked attitude can ruin a legacy too. I'll get to it later. Later is the most dangerous time zone on earth. Dreams die waiting for later. 3. I'm too tired. Busy. Neglect loves fatigue. But energy follows purpose. When something really matters, you find the strength for. Nobody will notice, but the universe always notices. Excellence is not about applause, it's about alignment with greatness. Biblical parallel, the little foxes. In Song of Solomon 2:15, the scripture warns, catch for us the foxes, the little foxes that ruin the vineyards. It's not the lions or bears that destroy the vineyard, it's the little foxes. Small, sneaky, subtle. They nibble away at what's fruitful until nothing is left. The vineyard is your destiny. The foxes are tiny acts of neglect. You don't need a Goliath to ruin you. You just need a dozen small compromises, delays, and ignore disciplines. The devil's diary entry, neglect is my favorite tool. If the devil can't stop your talent, he'll dull it with procrastination. If he can't kill your drive, he'll distract your attention. He whispers, no need to proofread it. They won't notice, don't follow up on that idea. It's not the right time, skip today's workout. One day won't matter, don't prepare too much. Just wing it, but dreams require precision. Success demands maintenance. Excellence is in the follow-through. Neglect shows up in three main areas. 1. Mindset maintenance. Neglecting personal growth. Skipping meditation, prayer, journaling, reflection. Avoiding learning and mental sharpening. Result, your thinking stagnates. Fear and doubt creep in. 2. Skill development. Not practicing. Not studying your craft. Refusing to get feedback or improve. Result, your gifts plateau. Mediocrity sets in. 3. Relationship stewardship. Ignoring key people. Not expressing gratitude. Failing to resolve conflict. Result, your network crumbles. Trust erodes. Wherever you are now, ask, what am I neglecting that's costing me momentum? From neglect to discipline, the turnaround strategy. 1. Audit your life. Take inventory. Where have you been careless, passive, or inconsistent? Create 3 columns. What I started. What I ignored. What I need to fix. Awareness is the first step to alignment. 2. Create systems, not wishes. Dreams thrive in systems. Don't just hope to be consistent, schedule it. Time block your focus hours. Automate reminders. Track progress. Success loves structure. 3. Master small wins. Neglect doesn't disappear by doing everything at once. It's defeated through small, steady victories. Make the call. Respond to the email. Read the page. Say thank you. Show up, even when you don't feel like it. Every small action becomes a page torn out of the devil's diary. 4. Be ruthless with distraction. Anything that steals your attention without adding value is a trap. Unsubscribe from noise. Say no to unaligned tasks. Turn off notifications. Guard your time like gold. The fall of a star through simple neglect. Consider the promising musician who had talent, stage presence, and fans. But he stopped rehearsing. Skipped sound checks. Delayed recording. Ignored advice. Arrived late. He thought the little things didn't matter. Until the little things became everything, and the opportunity vanished. He didn't lose his dream because of lack of ability. He lost it because he neglected what made the ability shine. Final reflection. Honor the details. Honor your destiny. Excellence isn't glamorous. It's gritty. It's waking up early. It's rewriting that proposal. It's calling that client again. It's checking the spelling. It's showing up, fully present, fully prepared. Your destiny is written in the small print. The devil hides in the margins, hoping you won't notice what you've been skipping. Don't let neglect write the final chapter. Tear that page out. Sharpen your focus. Take care of the little things because God is watching how you handle the details before he delivers the destiny. Chapter 12. The Diary of Regret. When it's too late to rewrite the story. There is a sound more haunting than failure, louder than criticism, and heavier than defeat. It is the quiet rustle of pages never turned, dreams never lived, and choices never made. It is the sound of regret. Regret is the final chapter the devil waits to write in the life of the distracted, the disobedient, the deceived. His pen is ready from the beginning, not to stop you abruptly, but to ensure you never truly begin. And by the time you realize what you've lost, the ink has dried. The most dangerous chapter is the one you didn't write. Regret is not about what you did wrong, it's often about what you failed to do right. It's the gap between potential and reality, between calling and comfort, between intention and execution. Ask the elderly what haunts them most, and it's rarely their sins, it's their silences. The business idea they never pursued. The person they never forgave. The book they never wrote. The risks they never took. The voice they never listened to, the inner voice of truth. The devil smiles at every unused talent. He celebrates every dream that dies in delay. He writes, another one buried their greatness in a graveyard called someday. 3 dimensions of regret. To understand the weight of this final entry, we must unpack the layers of regret. It is a burden with multiple dimensions. 1. Mental regret. I knew better. This is the regret of clarity ignored. You had the insight. You saw the red flags. You understood what needed to be done. But you chose comfort, compromise, or cowardice. It's not ignorance that hurts, it's disobedience to wisdom too. Emotional regret, I feel it every day. This is the heaviness of missed purpose. An ache that lingers long after the moment has passed. Joy becomes hollow. Accomplishments feel incomplete. Because the true self was never fully activated. 3. Spiritual regret, I betrayed my calling. This is the deepest form. When you realize you've lived beneath your divine assignment. The haunting realization that heaven invested something eternal in you, and you let temporary distractions rob you of it. The diary's final lie, there's still time. The devil's most lethal deception isn't to tell you there is no purpose, it's to convince you that you have plenty of time to pursue it. But purpose has an expiry date. Every season has a window. Every calling has a timing. Delay is not always neutral. Sometimes, it's deadly. Think of Samson, who only remembered his calling after he was blind and bound. Esau, who wept bitterly but could not reclaim his birthright. Judas, who realized too late the cost of betrayal. The rich fool in Jesus' parable, who built barns but not a legacy, and heard, "This night your soul is required of you." Regret is not a slap, it's a mirror. One that shows you what could have been if you had fought harder, listened deeper, lived braver. The patterns that lead to regret. If regret is the destination, here are the roads that lead there. 1. Ignoring inner conviction, that still small voice that told you to act, to speak up, to walk away. 2. Settling for safe over significant, choosing a predictable life instead of a purposeful one. 3. Following the crowd, letting popular opinion override personal destiny. 4. Trading identity for image, trying to be impressive rather than authentic. 5. Waiting for perfect conditions, never starting because you were waiting for the stars to align. Each of these opens a blank page for regret to fill. The tragedy of wasted potential. One of the saddest scenes in life is a person with greatness locked inside them, unexpressed, unexplored, unfulfilled. They were talented, but never disciplined. They were called, but never committed. They were inspired, but never acted. They were anointed, but never aligned. The world never heard their message because they were too busy managing their image. They never wrote their book because they were afraid it wouldn't sell. They never led because they feared failure. So they lived long, but died full. Full of dreams. Full of gifts. Full of unwritten chapters. And the devil wrote one last line, they had it. But they wasted it, the power of present choice. Here's the paradox, regret only becomes final when you stop trying. As long as there is breath, there is still a pen in your hand. Even if you've lost years, made mistakes, or been paralyzed by fear, you can still write a new chapter. But you must decide today. Because someday becomes never, and later becomes lost. You can't edit a chapter you never wrote. Avoiding the final entry, a redemption strategy. 1. Stop the excuses. Excuses build comfort zones, regret builds prisons. Own your choices. Take back control. 2. Reconnect with your why. Purpose gives pain meaning. Revisit your calling. Why were you created? What are you here to build, change, or heal? 3. Do the hard thing first. Start the business. Write the page. Make the call. Say the apology. Go back to school. End the toxic relationship. Regret dies when action lies for. Guard against drift. Regret rarely comes from a single bad decision, it's the product of small drifting. Anchor yourself daily, in truth, in vision, in discipline. 5. Finish strong. No matter how you began, the finish can be glorious. Don't let the devil have the final say. Rewrite the ending with fierce intentionality. Reflection, what will your legacy be? When the story of your life is read, by your children, your community, your creator, what will it say? Will it read like a tragedy of wasted brilliance? Or a testimony of brave alignment? The devil has a diary of manipulation. But you hold the final page. Tear out the lies. Burn the distractions. Break the chains. And write a story that will never be followed by regret. Chapter 13. Burning the Devil's Diary. Winning the war for your greatness. There comes a time when the schemes must be silenced, the lies exposed, and the enemy's diary thrown into the fire. That time is now. You've seen the traps, you've heard the whispers, you've felt the weight of sabotage, but the war is not lost. Your greatness is not gone. In this final chapter, we wage war, not with fists or fury, but with clarity, courage, and commitment. Because the only way to truly defeat the devil's diary is to stop letting it write your story. Recognizing the war, it was always about your greatness. From the beginning, the real target wasn't your money, your relationships, or your emotions, it was your potential. The devil's schemes, distractions, fears, and details were designed to diminish your vision, derail your progress, discredit your voice, delay your destiny. Greatness terrifies darkness. A focused, whole, purposeful human being cannot be manipulated. That's why the attacks came, not because you were weak, but because you are dangerous to darkness. If the devil couldn't destroy you, he tried to deceive you into destroying yourself. Exposing the author, lies that fueled the schemes. Before we burn the diary, we must recognize the ink it was written with, lies. Some were bold, others subtle. You're not good enough, there's still time. Wait, everyone else is ahead of you. If you just cut corners, you'll make it faster. Don't be too authentic, they'll reject you. Stay in the comfort zone. It's safe here. Each lie was a chain. Each whisper a sentence. And every page was meant to keep you predictable, passive, and powerless. But today, you name the lies, and you break their grip. The bonfire of breakthrough, destroying the devil's pages. To burn the devil's diary is to consciously reject every pattern, thought, and behavior that has delayed your destiny. This is not a metaphor. This is a mandate. Burn the page of procrastination. No more waiting. You will no longer allow fear to dress up as wisdom. You act now. Burn the page of comparison. You are not their journey. You are not behind. You are not lacking. You are uniquely designed for your path. Burn the page of ego. You don't need validation to walk in purpose. Your value isn't in being seen, it's in being true. Burn the page of bitterness. You forgive. Not because they deserve it, but because you deserve freedom. Burn the page of regret. Yesterday is not your identity. You are not your mistakes. Your past is a teacher, not a prison. Rewriting the story, the power of a new narrative. Now that the enemy's record is ashes, it's time to write your own journal, a journal of victory, discipline, and impact. Here's what your new pages might say: I rise early, focused on my purpose. I guard my mind from garbage and feed it truth. I honor my gift with excellence and service. I choose legacy over likes, substance over style. I forgive fast, love deeply, and live boldly. I make no apology for my greatness. This is not hype. This is alignment. You are stepping back into your identity, not the one shaped by fear or society, but the one shaped by your creator. The armor of greatness, protecting what you've reclaimed. Victory is not a one-time event, it is a lifestyle. To stay free, you must stay intentional. Daily disciplines that fortify your greatness. Silence before screens. Start your day listening to truth, not noise. Journaling victories and battles. Reflect, don't drift. Declare your vision aloud. Speak it until your soul believes it. Strategic solitude. Step away from the crowd to stay close to clarity. Intentional relationships. Surround yourself with people who fuel, not drain. The devil doesn't stop writing, but he can be denied access to your story. Becoming the fire, from diary victim to destiny igniter. You are not just here to escape manipulation. You are here to confront it for others. Every lie you've broken free from, someone else is still trapped in. Every chain you've shattered, someone else still wears. So go, mentor others out of manipulation. Teach clarity where confusion ruled. Model discipline where chaos once lived. Speak life where silence reigned. Burn the devil's diary, and become the torch that lights others' paths. Final words, the victory is yours. You were never weak. You were never ordinary. You were just targeted. But you've seen the schemes. You've broken the silence. You've reclaimed the pen. And now you write, not from fear, but from fire. Not as a victim of manipulation, but as a master of meaning. So go. Write your legacy. Win your battles. Finish your story. And may your final chapter not be written by regret, but by relentless, radiant greatness.